You're listening to the voice of IWA Flip here on Interfed Radio. And yeah, even though the holidays of what do we call them? What do we call them? We call them the fall season holidays, or
Holla Giving Miss season.
Holigivingness. Oh yeah, and that's the beauty of the Living Nightmare League, which we are about to cover. And guest today, Scott Anderson. Scott, like I said, thanks for helping me get this intro going, since I'm stumbling all over the place.
No worries. Thank you for having me back on.
Oh man, yeah. I guess, but my point is that here in the Living Nightmare League, Halloween never ends. Is what I was trying to get at in
All year
fancy
long.
words.
Yeah.
It's Halloween all year long, definitely. Now, last time we were on, we did mention kind of the head in the box pay-per-view that's coming. We're getting closer and closer to it. As I'm looking at the front page, Scott, like we've mentioned, there are a lot of cards here. But for some reason, I'm seeing the same people hit that front page. I mean, what's going on here in the Living Nightmare League? Is Frankenstein and the Patients really that dominant here, or are they getting help?
They do tend to do pretty well. This is Dr. Frankenstein's 5th Nightmare title this year.
5 already, son of a gun.
Yeah,
Many that is. So 5 this year for him. But I think the Living Nightmare League has an amazing number of cards, and we have amazing managers, but we don't have a ton of managers, if that makes sense.
Yes,
So you see a lot of the same names. Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, the Dragons. You see a lot of those same names because there's only so many, and the same players tend to be successful cycle in, cycle out.
Now, with that being said, right there, Scott, I mean, it also builds for some, long-term rivals. I mean, it reminds me of when I was doing the MML, where instead of taking one angle from one pay-per-view or into one pay-per-view, it pretty much goes, from one pay-per-view to a rivalry into the next one. So it, you forget how short the year really is in the IWA, because, even though it's 17 cycles, when you're trash talking and you're running an angle, it flies.
It really does. Yeah, it really does go by fast. I mean, Dr. Frankenstein and Catfish Rob had a feud for, gosh, it had to be a year, and now we're teaming up, and basically 2018 in the LNL has been dominated by this feud of, I would say the overarching feud has been the Dragons and Reverend Boswell against basically everybody else, right? And that
I saw that picture of Boswell on the cover, man. I'm like, oh man, dude, this dude.
Yeah. Well, and I think that picture, it's a character from the show Grimm, because when I see Boswell, it's got to be somebody who looks like he could be somebody that would be charismatic, right? But you can kind of see that, maybe this guy isn't all he says he is, but you can see where he would get a lot of people.
Oh yeah, no, as I'm watching, as I'm looking at that picture, the name, dude, I'm going blank. Jamestown. Who's the guy from Jamestown?
Oh,
I drew a blank. Anyway, but you're familiar with the story, but in that kind of a manipulative type of way, that
right,
he's gonna get a group of people together, and just next thing you know, they're moving to South America to start their own,
right,
Yeah.
Oh man, I know who you mean. I can't think of his name. I know who you mean.
I kid you not. Like I said, I as I'm saying it, I'm drawing a blank. But yeah, in that same sense, that's what I see Boswell as, in terms of, he's charismatic. He is going to get a bunch of followers, to believe his side. But Hey, the Living
is
Nightmare
massive.
League is here to stay.
Well, we hope so, but the commissioner is going to give an answer on the offer to purchase the league at the pay-per-view. So that's coming up.
Now, in terms of, I mean, we had mentioned the Dragons there,
Yep.
and their interactions with Boswell, who was, from what we heard last time, that he's kind of taking their money, or he's kind of not giving them their fair share.
Well, that's the impression that we are left with. But then this cycle, the Dragons have met. There's a meeting that we see starting between them and Commissioner Pratt, and so we're kind of left wondering maybe what that conversation is. So, ... We'll see next cycle, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah,
Now,
but now it seems like maybe the Dragons are. It sounds like they have a golden goose on a silver. They have an offer for Commissioner Pratt.
the Dragons, huh?
The Dragon.
Huh.
No, seems like maybe there's a falling out here. That's the
Now,
impression that I think we have.
Now, and as that story is brewing, I mean, I also see that, I mean, obviously Jason and Michael Myers, and they've pretty much become, the icons here in the Living Nightmare League. I mean, aside from
definitely.
aside from Dr. Frankenstein and the patients, their names are on that front page, cycle in, cycle out.
Definitely. Well, and the thing about Jason and Michael is I think they were. I'm not sure if they were there from the beginning, but they were there when I took over.
Oh,
so,
nice.
So they've been there longer than I have. So they're definitely, legacy type players.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, in a similar way. I mean, I know the Living Nightmare League, is very heel oriented because of the monster theme there, but or I guess the way you could say it is, what did you call it? The polars have the what is it? The poles have changed because even though a heel is bad in
Right.
normal sense, in the Living Nightmare League, it's good to be a heel. It's good.
It's good, right? It's good to be the bad guy. Yeah.
Now, in terms of Michael and Jason, I mean, obviously we're kind of straying a little bit, but can you think back to maybe like one of their better feuds or more historic rivals there in the Living Nightmare League?
Well, they had a feud with Bosco and Krampus. The Krampus coming, but then also Myers and Voorhees had a feud with the Patients, which I don't think is perhaps over the tag team titles. Myers and Voorhees were the first Terror Tag Team Champions. They defeated Patients Y and Z, and then Patients Y and Z defeated them for the titles, and now there's a return match / challenge match at Head in the Box where I opened it up and I said anybody who declares that they would like to challenge for the titles is going to challenge for the titles. So Myers and Voorhees are automatically in that kind of as a rematch for their a championship rematch. I guess
Nice.
is what I'm trying
Now,
to say.
oh yeah, now as you mentioned the tag team and six-man division. Now I know we had mentioned off air that we kind of wanted to get a little into the tag and six-man division, but
Yeah, sure.
I mean, let's say it like it is. I mean, these monsters don't necessarily team up well. They like the individual action. They like
Right.
they like that one-on-one aspect. Because hey, who can trust Jason or who can trust Michael Myers really?
Right.
It's like
Right. Well, and the other thing is, other than the Patients and the Dragons, there aren't a lot of what I guess you might call consistent six-man teams. Michael Myers and Jason are a tag team. Foxwoman Santana and Catfish Rob are a tag team. Shout out Catfish, you're amazing. Octopussy and Voodoo Dolly are a tag team, but they kind of, a lot of those teams kind of makeshift with a third person, and it's hard for them to get on the front page as six.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now, and another new tag team you mentioned was Rezar and Akam.
They were my next person I was going to talk about. Yeah. Drake Maverick and Rezar and Akam, they are on the title page this time as the TV 6-man champions. I definitely could see them making a big splash in both tag and 6-man. So that's exciting. I may have a small affinity for tag and 6-man titles, so I enjoy when there's a big amount of activity in those divisions.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, I'm chasing my first 6-man world right now, so I've kind of forced myself to kind of use tables and charts that reflect the 6-man flow.
Yeah.
So expect some competition at least. I won't say expect me to get on that front page, but definitely expect them to be challenged in these next couple of cycles when I'm coming in.
Fantastic.
And as I'm speaking on that, I mean I've been having chit chats back and forth with different managers in terms of my current migration, and I think I said it the last time. I am making my way to the Living Nightmare League, and I've already in the back of my head I've already signed the contract there. So it's kind of like a contract in air so far. It's not in pen yet, but it's coming this cycle. And now that we just finished off this cycle, I think I can start working my way in there.
Hey, this is a great cycle to come in. Head in the Box is December 3rd.
Next
so.
Oh yeah, no, I'm coming definitely. I'm gonna take over. Or not take over, but I'm definitely gonna make a splash. Make a little. Oh man, because that Living Nightmare League, even though I've had a couple people, they're like, hey, you know what, there's other leagues out there. I'm like, yeah, there are. But this one attracted me. I like the match deal there. I like the way it goes in a little roller coaster, so I don't have to put all my chips in one bag every cycle.
Well,
but
I think not to switch gears, but I think the UNL has the every other cycle match deal.
Oh, you know what? I guess I must have had that mixed up, because I thought the Living Nightmare was the roller coaster where one cycle on, one cycle off. Is it? Am I wrong?
The UNL is the one that has the match deal every other cycle.
Aha.
There is a really good deal in the LNL right now that was just secured, which was breaking news on the Interfed Facebook page, where anytime the Living Nightmare League reaches at least 100 cards, every singles champion gets 10 free matches the following cycle. So if you have 4 wrestlers there, which is our max, you win 4 singles titles, that's 40 free matches.
Oh, I mean, but let me stop you right there, Scott. I mean, because I thought I had the deal in the back of my head where one cycle, and I forget what the other deal was for the LNL. Maybe I got them confused in all the interactions we had. But I remember you had mentioned that that's one of the reasons why it goes like from like 80 down to 30, 80.
Yeah, that's the UNL.
It is the UNL. Okay.
Yeah. UNL went from 85 or 86 to 35, and then back up to 80 plus this cycle.
Aha. Okay. So I had them mixed up. Okay. Because I remember the Living Nightmare League just recently hit like 117, but that was because of the Halloween deal.
That was because of the.
Aha.
And what I managed to retain for that, thank you to the IWA office, what I managed to retain from that was if we have over 100 cards, every singles champion will get 10 free matches. and we did manage to have 103 cards this cycle.
Ah, nice.
So everybody on that front page, every singles champion on the front page gets 10 free matches.
Nice. So, now, I mean, we mentioned this off air a little bit, and we've been mentioning a lot of the great deals the IWA has offered up and has provided some of these upstart leagues. But one of the things you mentioned that I think it's very important so that commissioners don't get discouraged is the IWA does deny a lot as well. So don't be discouraged in terms of when you do present something to them. I've gone I've gone on air, or not on air but off air, with a couple managers and stated that I'm probably the worst negotiator in terms of a commissioner when it came to the IWA. I wasn't as patient as some of these other commissioners in terms of breaking a deal. So hang in there if you're commissioning a league and you're presenting stuff to the IWA. Just make sure you don't put all your eggs in one basket. Just keep putting different stuff in there and just present it as much as possible. Like I mentioned the last time, as long as you're doing a report, use that as your as kind of like a bargain, something to bargain with.
Right. Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, I've gotten a few things lately, but I've also gotten a few no's. So I would say in the last 6 months, I've gotten 2 or 3 yeses and 2 or 3 nos. So you just keep throwing stuff against the wall, and hopefully you get some of it.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, and just to mention the Living Nightmare League again, if the league gets over 100, every regional champ or every champ.
Every singles champ. So the league champ, TV champ,
regional champ. Nice. Yeah, that's great right there. I mean, and speaking of those champions, let me go ahead and read off Living Nightmares number 44's champions. And Dr. Frankenstein back-to-back or no?
Not back-to-back, no.
Not back-to-back.
He held in, I think he held it in 42, lost in 43, and came back in 44.
Ah, that son of a gun. But here we go. Nightmare champ Dr. Frankenstein, or paranormal champ Patient Z. Amityville champ Michael Myers. Our Crystal Lake champ, the Krampus. Our Elm Street champion, Sinister Bagul. Our Black Lagoon champion, Dragon Amarillo. Camp Arwak champion, Rizar. Our Transylvania champion, Dragon Verde. Our Haunted Hill champion, Patient Y. Sleepy Hollow champion, Norman Bates. Our Salem's Lot champion, Deathstone. Our Crypt champion, Jason Voorhees 13. And we got our Apocalypse tag team champions, Dragon Amarillo and Dragon Verde. Our Doomsday TV champ, Patient Z and Patient Y. Our 6-man Slaughterhouse champions, the Dragons, Amarillo, Rojo, and Verde. Our Nightmare TV champ, Drake Maverick, Rizar, and Akam. So we got a lot of familiar names on there. Like I said, we definitely need some more challengers there in the Living Nightmare League. It is dude, the structure there is awesome. For those of you guys listening, I mean, it is 18 and over, and even though a lot of leagues will tell you that, you can pretty much say anything in their leagues, as long as you add a little asterisk, in the Living Nightmare League, it's 18 and over, leave the asterisks out. Leave
them out. That's right.
Oh man.
Yeah, when WWE switched over from WWF, like you can, like get the F out.
Nice.
You can leave them in. No, I don't know about that. That might
it might not make it in. But
that one might not make it, but a lot more can.
But the style right. More than anything, even though and again, there's a lot of theme leagues out there, Scott. So a lot of people allow certain aspects to their in their leagues, but the theme here in the Living Nightmare is gory. I mean, it starts with gory and it ends with gory. I mean, that's that to me, that's the selling point with it. And if you're not using some kind of gore factor, then why come? Go to another.
Then you're the heels. Then you're the bad guys.
Then you're the. Yeah, exactly. Whether you want to believe it or not, yeah. If you come in here, like like the Dragones are doing, and trying to reestablish order. Well, you're gonna find yourself on the wrong side of the street.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not everybody can get a united front of Dr. Frankenstein and his people and Catfish and Santana and Jason and Michael Myers. I mean, it's pretty hard. You got to be pretty bad to get those three entities united against you.
Right. Yeah. And now more on that point right there, Scott. I mean, you took over Frankenstein, or your character there, Dr. Frankenstein. I mean, is it strictly based off of the Frankenstein monster? Is that just
no? That's an excellent question. No, he started out as Dr. Id, and I think I had mentioned his name change. So it's like he took on that namesake because he had to replace
the body.
He had to replace his testicles. And so he kind of took on that mantle of the name Dr. Frankenstein after this kind of mythos, or this mythology around who Dr. Frankenstein is. And Dr. Id has these patients, and although it's never been kind of directly expressed, the impression is that he has altered these kind of, minion type men. He has done some experiments on them and altered them. So that's
Nice.
kind of the impression there. So there is kind of a Dr. Frankenstein aspect to him already, but then he took on that name when he went through his metamorphosis. So that's where that came from.
Now to go back and and bring Catfish Rob back into the spotlight for a few. I mentioned to you before I came on air. I'm trying to get him back on the show. Those of us that know him know that he is going through a lot. So sometimes it doesn't quite work out that way to be able to get him on. But he sent me like an archive of pictures that he's used throughout the years. And as I mentioned to you, one of them that just it stood out. And as we're getting close to the end of 2018, I thought we'd relive this a little bit, because last year around this time, he had his own award show, let's say. Award. And I'm sitting here, I'm looking at these awards, and I'm looking at these pictures, and I think we had a little bit of a debate in terms of, or we're not sure. And next time I get him on, I'll make sure we clarify whether they're ass cheeks or actual balls on the top of the awards he's presented. But
well, I think now that I'm thinking about it, because initially I thought they were butts, but then you mentioned balls, and I thought, you know what, maybe they are balls. But I think one of them is farting. Isn't one of them farting?
You know what? Let me as I'm flipping through them, let me pick this one up real quick. Hold on.
Because I think that's what made me think that they were butts. That there was like a coming off of one.
Oh, this takes me back because I haven't had bulletins in such a long time. So
I still get my big white envelope.
Oh man,
I can't help myself. I need that paper.
And you're right. Yeah, there is one passing gas.
Okay, there it is.
Yeah. So
right.
the first,
I was pretty convinced you were right.
Here, actually, let me just read them. The first three are the Brass Balls Awards. So the first three are balls, and then and then the big one is the one that, of course, Dr. Id won, was the Butthole Award.
Okay. That's okay. So
we were both right. Yes.
The best outcome possible.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So it's awesome to see this stuff. I mean, like I said, just the details that he puts into the stuff is just, oh man, it's awesome to see his work, brother. I mean, now, I mean, obviously, someone like Catfish Rob is an original character. Foxwoman Santana, from what I don't ever remember hearing of Foxwoman Santana, so I'm assuming that's an original character as well.
I believe it is.
Okay, and I mean, Now the other guys running Michael and Jason, are they running, kind of using their, Jason and Michael's backstories or similar to
Uh,
those characters?
they're pretty authentic to the Jason and Michael characters. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
awesome.
they're pretty on point with keeping in that realm of who that character is.
Nice. Yeah, and that just again, it just goes to show how different people play different ways. In a similar way, Scott. I mean, a lot of managers like to use I don't want to say replicas, but they like to use kind of like they base their characters. I mean, like for instance, someone like if you hear Hulk Hollywood, I mean, you obviously know it's
Right.
based on Hulk
Yeah,
Hogan,
right.
but thoughts on that throughout the IWA. I mean, I think it
Just
works easier in a league like the Living Nightmare.
just general thoughts on people using characters names that are obviously real people.
Yeah, or real characters. Like for instance, like if I decided to use someone like Batman and Robin, or
Oh,
obviously that would Batman and Robin wouldn't work in the Living Nightmare League, but
right, right. I mean, we'd hack them up, but that's fine. So um, I guess I would say I appreciate everybody can play how they want to play. This is a game where you're spending your own money, so you do what you want to do. I would say that's not my cup of tea.
gotcha. But it's allowed in the Living Nightmare League is kind of where.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, like Living Nightmare League, you're encouraged. Like Jason and Michael are some of the cornerstones. If somebody wanted to come in as Jigsaw, I think that'd be fantastic. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Like, you know what I mean? If somebody wanted to be some of these, other horror-based characters, I mean, we don't have a Wolfman. Take a Wolfman. There were some vampires that were active before I came in that have been inactive for a long time. Somebody wants to come in and be, some vampires. That'd be cool. Um, oh, definitely. I mean, you can definitely pull from, certain things. If somebody wants to be Predator, that'd be all right. Come in as
Nice.
Predator, you know? Uh,
Now in terms, I mean, obviously you're mentioning horror based and nightmarish type characters right now,
mhm.
but I mean, let's say somebody wanted to run, something similar to what the Dragones are running.
That's fine with me
Do,
too.
would that?
I,
I mean, would you encourage that manager to run it by you first so that it's well
um,
received?
Probably not. I think there are very few things that somebody has to run by me in the Living Nightmare League, to be honest. I did have a question. Kim had emailed me, I don't know, a few cycles ago and said, there was a manager who wanted to just make sure these names were all okay. And I'm like, that's really nice that they would ask, but I'm like, I don't know why I would object to any of these names. They were all fine. I'm
Nice.
like, yeah, all these names are great. I would say there's very little that you really shouldn't do in the Living Nightmare League. Um, what to your point, like what if I could give an example of what not to do? I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want to have dead air. I can't think of anything that you absolutely probably couldn't do. I
Now
think there I think there
now
might be things
obviously
that are less successful. Like if you came in as Spider-Man, you might not have a lot of, you know what I mean? Like that
right.
might not be as successful in the Living Nightmare League, but
I said
there's a lot of things you can do.
it's definitely not. It's not going to be easy to get over as Spider-Man in the Living Nightmare.
Right. I guess okay. Um I would say original dark characters, great. Characters based on other horror things, great. Characters directly taken from, horror things, cool. Come in as, zombie number one, awesome. Come in as Voldemort, I don't care. But I think that it just use common sense, I guess.
Yeah.
You know,
Now, I mean, obviously, we don't need, and I hate to say this because I'm sure it's happened in the past, but I mean, do you get copycats like Jason 1, Jason 2, Jason 3, Jason 4?
um, you would think that would be something that would happen. I have not had that happen yet,
Nice.
and I've
Okay.
been
year and a half.
Okay, yeah, no, I would expect that to happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would definitely expect that to happen more often.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that could be an issue, but it has not been. Knock on wood. It has not been a problem at all.
Nice. Now, as we're getting ready to, have this pay-per-view head in the box, you want to go over the matches there, or is that something you don't have?
No, we can definitely do that.
Oh, awesome.
So I guess you would call it the main event. Main event is the Underworld title match, of course, where Patient Z will defend against Dragon. It starts with the A. How would you...
Amarillo.
Thank you, sir. But the Dragon won a number one contender match at Chamber of Horrors. So that's how he earned this title match. So he'll be in the world title match, the Underworld title match. But I guess I should say the main event, at least intention-wise, was the head in the box match. Calling a spade. Unfortunately, we only had 4 entrants into that match. I was a little disappointed. I really thought that we'd get a good number of people. I was hoping for around, say, 10. But we only got 4. But those 4 will compete for it. They'll compete for $8 in credit. And then the winner will have a title match whenever they want it with the 4-point advantage. Moving on. The Anarchy title match, which I guess is kind of like the mid-card Intercontinental type title. Bosco the Clown against Michael Myers. The Terror Tag Turmoil match, as aforementioned, will be Patient Y and Z against all declared challengers. I'll go back and double check. I think the only declared challengers are Jason and Michael and Catfish and Foxwoman.
That was declared through Trash Talk.
Correct. I'm going to go back and double check, make sure I didn't miss anybody. So that'll be a triple threat. Jason Voorhees versus Sin.
And I think
2 or 3 cycles is really what I think has been fantastic. There's a good piece by both managers this cycle, so shout out to them. If I had to give like a cycle award for best build-up, it would go to those two wrestlers, those 2 monsters. Definitely think that's going to be a good showdown there. Last man standing, Catfish Rob versus the Dragon Rojo.
Rojo.
Thank you.
Rojo.
Oh man, my limitations are showing. And then chain match between Foxwoman Santana and Dragon Verde. Is that how you'd say that?
Close enough. I mean, for as much as I slaughter names on here, I ain't gonna get picky about how you say Verde.
Thank you, sir. I did. I got close.
Very close.
That's our lineup for the pay-per-view. It's a really good. I am tuning my horn. Or our horn, the LNL horn. It's a really good lineup. It's a really good pay-per-view lineup. So I'm pretty excited. See where all that goes. Plus, in addition to that, we'll have Commissioner Pratt's answer as to whether or not he will sell the LNL to Reverend Boswell. So pretty big showdown here to cap the year off.
Nice.
The only other thing I wanted to mention besides the Jason and Sinister feud was the next page. If you were looking at the card there, in January we're going to have the return of the Monsters Ball. And it's not a festive dance party, but it will determine the challenger for the Underworld Championship at Dead by Dawn. And so the top 20 single points finishers in 2018 will enter the Monsters Ball. We'll eliminate 5 monsters every cycle, lowest strategy total. And then when we reach the final 5, those 5 will compete to win Monsters Ball and be the number 1 contender.
Nice.
So that's kind of the next thing happening after Head in a Box. I am going to be announcing I'll announce it here first. Breaking news.
Dun, dun, dun.
The pay-per-view is called Dead by Dawn because my intention is to have a battle royal type match where the idea is that it's a buried alive type match, but it's not just an Eddie buried alive type battle royal match. It will take place in a graveyard, and the winner will be the last person who's not buried. Hence,
Nice.
Dead by Dawn, because you have to bury and kill everybody else.
I like it. Oh yeah, no, that you know what? And for commissioners out there, like I said, sometimes you have to use the theme of your league to create some of these pay-per-views because it can get I mean, and we talked about this slightly before we got on, Scott, in terms of tenure and having commissioners that have that tenure that are they've been doing this for years. I mean, it's what gives those guys in the Steel and the AWO and the CCL their credit, even though again they run a very fast pace there in the AWO, but they've been doing it for 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're going to keep doing that pace and if it works for their managers that are playing there, then go get it. Here in the Living Nightmare League, it's theme based, so we want to keep those. I mean, to see that kind of a pay-per-view, I mean, I could just imagine a bunch of dug up holes throughout the graveyard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, that's definitely going to fit right in, man.
Yeah. So I'm pretty excited.
Now my head's spinning. Even like I told everybody, I go, I'm getting ready to make my debut. I'm not gonna reveal too much here, just so it's a surprise when it does air. Next bulletin. But I'm spinning back and forth. I'm going. I've been talking with Dennis. I've been talking with Catfish Rob there, and just working up to my debut. I'm gonna have 2 characters that are gonna they're gonna be 2 separate tag teams. I guess what you can see them as. So expect some nice a nice change of pace there in January.
That's awesome. New year, new characters, all fantastic.
Oh yeah, no, and I've gone on, I mean, Scott, I mean, I know you're spread out throughout the IWA. You do a fantastic job of promoting all these other leagues that you're helping out. But me, I've cut back. So if a manager does want a little piece of me and say, hey, you know what, that IWA Flip, he's just talking way too much, and he's nowhere. Well, if you want some of me, I'm going to be in the LNL come January. So come get some.
Nice.
Show up at Head in the Box. See what's going on there, and then follow it after. Your rankings start January or holiday season.
Correct.
Scott?
No. So I think holidays is always the last cycle of the year, right? So then holidays ends 2017. Whatever January 18 or be 19. January 2019 will start. I'll restart the rankings, and we'll have Wrestler of the Year, Tag Team of the Year. I might expand it out a bit this year, maybe, Feud of the Year, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, we'll have some awards to end the year, and then everything will kind of reset for 2019.
Nice. It's and here we go. And here we go.
And here we go. That's right.
Here we go. Oh, man. Now, Scott, any last I know we wanted to cover a little more in depth in terms of the titles, how they changed hands, but I mean, from what I can tell, I mean, it's a recycling group right now that pretty much has they don't want to let that league go, and Boswell, even if he does buy it, I'm curious to see how he if they do sell it, if he has any luck controlling those monsters.
It will not be an easy task.
Oh man! Now, before we sign off, Scott, any shout outs? Any
Well, I feel like I had the chance to do the ones I wanted to make sure I do. Of course, to Catfish Rob, Dennis, his continued contributions are amazing. The manager for Jason and Michael, fantastic stuff, always consistent. And that's another thing. You talk about consistent work, cycle in, cycle out, and that's Voorhees and Myers every cycle. And as a commissioner, you appreciate those players who are consistent and always contributing. So shout out to him. And then also Sinister Bagul, who has come on, probably one of the new characters this year that has really made, I think, a big splash. looking for amazing things in 2019 from that character.
Nice. Now, again, as I've mentioned, the Bronze Federation is, in my eyes, is one of the most booming federations right now. I mean, not to take anything away from the granddaddy of them all, the gold, but
We're
the
coming.
bronze is right on its heels. I mean, because with leagues like the Living Nightmare leagues, leagues like the United Nations, leagues like the RWL, like the HRL there. It's as good of competition as you can find in the IWA if you need a break from the gold fraction.
Sure, definitely.
Now, again, you've been listening to the commissioner of the Living Nightmare League, Scott Anderson, and myself, IWA Flip, here on the Living Nightmare Review. I said, guys, keep tuned in. We'll keep bringing you guys all the action. If you want to participate, reach out to us. When we do, when you see the post, we'd like to have as many people on, and if we can get a tri-host for the Living Nightmare League, run it by Commissioner Anderson, see if we can set something up. Because I said we're going to keep moving forward, and 2019 is just around the corner, and I'm ready to go. I'm excited.
Nice, good.
Oh man, guys. Well, you guys have a good night. Scott, thanks again for being on. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.